All right. Thanks for tuning in again, guys, to another episode of the Will Rock MMA podcast.
What's up, everybody? Let's get right to it. We just posted this up. Darren Till is officially fighting against Stephen Thompson. This is going to headline the UFC in Liverpool, which is one of the most interesting fights to make.
And that I will tell you,
weight class
that Liverpool card, they're stacking it, bro.
Stacking
it.
And we'll get more into it, but
Yeah.
this thing also wants a mix of that. But let's get straight to that particular fight. Darren Till comes off a win against Cowboy Cerrone. He finished him off like nobody's ever finished off Donald Cerrone.
Cowboy Cerrone.
And now he's ranked number 7, so they immediately pushing him to the number 1 rank fighter, which is Stephen Thompson. I'm a little iffy about this fight. One, because if Stevenson wins, and let's say Woodley wins, do people really want to see Woodley versus Stevenson part 3?
So this is the problem. Woodley right now is out of an injury. He's not even fighting. So the UFC made a stupid decision, my personal opinion. They put Dos Anjos versus Covington for the interim belt, right? Because they don't know how long Woodley's going to be out for.
No, Woodley should be back soon.
Okay.
But anyways.
So they made that fight. We don't know what's going to happen to Woodley. We don't know what's going to happen to Woodley. It seems like Woodley's been calling out, he wants a big money fight, and they're not going to give him a money fight. I think they're just going to stick to the rankings, and they're going to either give him Dos Anjos or Covington when he comes back. If Stevenson wins that fight, he should await the winner of the other two, which sucks because he's going to have to wait a little bit longer for that.
Who's that?
Stevenson. Because you think about it, Stevenson is fighting soon. The Dos Anjos versus Covington fight is having after.
Right.
And then, let's say those two win. Should they fight to see who fights Woodley?
I don't.
Maybe depending on how Stevenson.
That wouldn't make sense.
Well, it could only make sense if Stevenson.
It doesn't make sense because if you're fighting for the interim belt, is for the next match to be for the actual welterweight belt. So that does not make sense. So the reason why I'm saying it is because if Darren Till wins, does he skip the line completely? If Darren Till, let's say he knocks out Stevenson in the first or second round, sweeps him. What happens? Does he get a straight line?
No.
Next shot versus. But it makes sense to do that with a guy with that much momentum. We already benched Darren Till for such a long time, and now he finally gets the fight that we're looking for. Because I'm looking forward for this Thompson fight. It's an amazing fight to make. I just don't know who's the real winner. Who's going to come out winning after this fight?
I think this is the way I feel about that. Darren Till, let's say, happens to win the fight, which is going to be a really tough fight for him. This is a completely different animal who loves to fight, giving you tons of space. His karate is as legit as Lyoto Machida when he first came out, right?
Right, without a doubt, if not better.
I feel like it might just be a little better. With that being said, Darren Till wins this fight. Darren Till should fight somebody else. He should not be jumping to. There's no way that he's gonna beat Stevenson and jump straight to number 1. I don't see that happening.
No, but he did beat the number 1. So what are you gonna put him to fight against the number 2 fighter?
Oh, he's number 7. He could fight, and there's people in front of him. There's people in front of him. You know
what? Now thinking about it, it makes sense for the winner of the interim belt, Covington versus Dos Anjos, to fight against
the winner of this
Woodley.
fight.
No, against Woodley, and then whoever wins there fights against Darren Till.
No.
If Darren Till wins.
No, I don't think Darren Till deserves a title shot, dude. I don't think Darren Till deserves a title shot. I think Darren Till got put in the fight with Stevenson. It just worked out that way for the UFC. They needed to keep these two guys busy.
Oh, I couldn't agree. I disagree with you anymore.
There's no way you're gonna give somebody who beat. Don't get me wrong. He beat Cerrone and he beat him fair and square and he actually demolished him. And then he fights Stevenson. Let's say he does the same thing. He doesn't deserve a title shot, man.
So you're saying Dos Anjos is going to fight Covington for the interim title, and then who's going? So let's say Darren Till or Thompson wins. You're saying they should fight against Darren Till?
You're putting Darren Till way too high up there. Darren Till is the number 7 rank right now. There's still 6, 7, 8. Whoa, what the fuck am I walking forward? There's still 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 people that he can still fight. There's still people in that division he can still fight. So
you're saying that he's gonna fight against Stephen Thompson for the number 1 ranks. Well, let me take that back. Not necessarily number 1. Stevenson is the number one rank. If you beat the number one contender, you don't
become the number one contender. You don't. It's a proven fact. That's why the whole ranking shit is a huge mess.
I don't disagree with what you're saying. The ranking is a huge mess. But you're telling me he beats the number one rank Thompson, and he doesn't get a title. He doesn't.
No, he doesn't. This is his second fight. Are you kidding me?
Why is he fighting the number one contender?
Once again, it just felt that way, Willie. It felt that way.
Let's just disagree on this one. Let's just disagree on this.
But okay, we could disagree on that, but I'm gonna try to continue to prove my point. What if Stevenson is actually let me rephrase that. He is the number one contender right now. Why would Dos Anjos versus Covington fight for the interim belt?
Because he just lost the fight against Woodley.
Who?
Thompson.
Why is he number one then? This is why the rankings are fucked up.
No.
If Till beats the Stevenson, Till beats Stevenson, I don't think he deserves a title shot. I think there's still people in there he needs to fight. Now, if he fights the next guy and he beats him, if he ends up fighting the loser of the Dos Anjos versus Covington, that to me makes sense.
All right, I guess we'll wait to see what that happens.
Yeah, I'm not about him taking a title shot.
I completely am.
Okay.
But that's besides the point. All right, as we were talking about Darren Till and Stephen Thompson, Michael Bisping came into the picture. He wants to fight, which is interesting because you figure Michael Bisping coming back to fight after losing to George St. Pierre, right? If he doesn't headline that card, which they already made Darren Till and Stevenson the headlining card, I just cannot see Michael Bisping, the great Michael Bisping, going as a co-main event in Liverpool, in his hometown, as a co-main event. I can't see that. So it's very interesting how, keep in mind that Michael Bisping he really wants to fight it. Doesn't necessarily mean he's going to get the fight or the UFC is even looking into it. But it's interesting to me more than that, than whoever his opponent may be.
I think right now he's calling the shots. This is his last fight. The UFC is going to give him what they want. He deserves. Michael Bisping, no matter how many people hate him, he deserves whatever the hell he asked for.
That's why to me it's interesting, because a guy like Michael Bisping deserves to headline a card in Liverpool. But for them to just immediately say Darren Till versus Stevenson is going to be headlining, that's the most interesting question to me, more than who Michael Bisping is fighting.
Interesting. I don't see Michael Bisping taking the co-main event as a bad thing. I don't see it as a bad thing. I
just don't know if Michael Bisping wants to even do that.
Well, I think he don't have a choice. He actually wants to fight.
He is the god of England. Like, he is the guy. The reason why UFC is in England to begin with is because of this guy.
I'm not disagreeing with you. Unfortunately, just the balls haven't rolled in the right direction for him because he took a couple of losses. I mean. He
just one loss, right?
No, and then didn't he lose to Kelvin? Kelvin beat him, knocked him out.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah. So you just took 2 L's and you're gonna take a headliner card? Don't get me wrong. Once again I'm a huge Bisping supporter and I love him because he's done amazing things for the sport and he's never turned down a fucking fight, man. No. Is why he's taking the losses clean. And and that's a huge thing.
And that weight class, especially that weight class.
Oh my god! If you think about the people he's beat, man, and even the people he's lost, it's like big names,
For sure, yeah. But anyway, so that's that. They also just named Neil Magny versus Gunnar Nelson. That's gonna be
also for Liverpool.
Oh, that's also considered.
That's also a Liverpool fight.
That card is stacked.
I'm telling you, I'm actually very impressed with the UFC. I feel like they should have done the same thing for Chile. Like they should have. There's gonna be fights that are I'm like,
they're pretty good. They're pretty good cards, but we'll get into that. The Chile card. So far they got Volkan versus Shogun Rua. I don't know if they headlining, but they're fighting that card.
Yeah.
And we'll mention another one that just got announced today, but. Back to that Neil Magny versus Gunnar Nelson fight. That's a very interesting fight. Both great grapplers. Great on the ground. Who's going to submit? Who is the real question? Or is Magny going to keep his distance and try to fight his way into a decision fight? As we know, Neil Magny comes in there to win.
They both do, man. I mean, I don't even know what to say about this card. This is one of those cards that. They're very evened out. I still feel like Magny has a better stand-up game.
I agree.
But you know, you don't want to grapple with Gunnar. You just don't want to do that.
He's a big guy for his weight class. So is Magny for that weight class.
Yeah, they're both tall. Actually, I undersized Gunnar for this fight, but you're right. Gunnar is actually a tall son of a bitch for this.
It's gonna be that's gonna be a very interesting fight. I mean, I guess we'll call who's gonna win once we get there. But again, so far,
I don't even know, dude. I don't even know.
I don't even know who to pick as well at this point. Also, we have Dustin Poirier versus Justin Gaethje. They're fighting in UFC on Fox 29, April 14th.
Right.
The reason why they're headlining that...
What are they fighting again?
They're April 14th.
Oh, which is around the corner, man, if you think about it.
Yeah, pretty much. That's going to be a very interesting fight. Both great stand-up fighters. Gaethje has to come in with a different game plan than just throwing haymakers. He needs to really pick his shots. We're not talking about just anybody. He's fighting against Dustin Poirier, who's coming in, guns blazing. He just finished beating Showtime Pettis.
Oh, sure.
Tremendous fight to begin with. I believe that Gaethje, although has the better power, Dustin Poirier has the best technique in the game so far in that weight class.
I think he's a better overall fighter. I think he's gonna pick him apart little by little, and he this is what he's calling it. He mentioned that. He goes, I don't know if I'm gonna completely dominate him, or if I'm gonna win a decision. He goes, but I do not see myself losing. And now, granted, that all these fighters say that, but I will say when Poirier says that, because he's such a well-rounded fighter, you could believe that.
Yeah.
But man, Gaethje's not the guy.
No.
Not that guy.
No, but with that being said, it's so interesting to me how you got Gaethje, who's coming up a loss against Eddie Alvarez, and Dustin Poirier coming off of a victory versus Showtime Pettis. And it's just to show you how they just you want to headline with two bangers, people that are willing to stand up and fight, because that fight really doesn't make any sense to me. Poirier should have definitely passed over him already. Gaethje should have go back down the line and work his way back up. He's coming off of a loss.
Shit, what about Eddie Alvarez versus fucking Poirier? That makes sense.
That would have made more sense to me.
That would have made sense. Actually, it's a good point you make there. I finally agree with you.
Alright, cool. The next one, finally, Vitor Belfort is saying that he's going to retire at UFC 224. He's fighting against Lyoto Machida in his hometown of Brazil.
In their hometown of Brazil.
Take that back. In their hometown. They're both headlining the card. It's interesting to me that, so the headline, when I was reading the headline, it said, Vitor Belfort is retiring at UFC 224, but he's not cutting all
ties off. The reason why I feel like he said that was... He's planning to retire from the UFC.
Right, not from Bellator.
And not from Bellator. He's going to walk straight into Bellator. He fits Bellator's status, I feel like. You know, that the fighters, don't get me wrong, the Bellator fighters are definitely stepping up, man. There's some big-time fighters that I guarantee the UFC is going, shit, we wish we got them. It would be interesting. And I'll tell you this much. Both of those fighters deserve to be in Bellator. They're not in championship calibers. They're no longer the championship.
But you're completely right, 100%.
Those are great fights to see in Bellator.
I do believe that win or lose for both fighters, they should both retire. It would be great they're doing it in their hometown of Brazil. Although,
and then Machida he said he doesn't even have plans of retiring. He goes, he still feels like he has a lot more to give to the sport. He's done so much for the sport. Sometimes people just need to learn how to walk away, man.
I agree.
We'll see how this fight plans out. I don't even know who's gonna win this fight, and that's something that we'll discuss hopefully when we do our predictions. Because once again, it's almost like that Magny versus Gunnar. You just don't know. I agree. I can't pick anybody as of now.
So we were talking about who's gonna headline the UFC card in Chile, right? So we spoke about how Volkan is fighting against Shogun Rua, right? Mm-hmm. But whose headlining is Kamaru Usman versus Santiago Ponzinibbio. It's very interesting why they decided to put them as a headliner.
Bangers.
They are bangers. It is also interesting to me why they decided to do it in Chile. We never really spoke about that, but I don't remember hearing anything about Chile being like a fight a fight town, like a fight country. I mean, I'm pretty sure every country has their fighters, but who's from Chile? I can't think of anybody that's from Chile that made it to MMA.
Santiago. I've never heard of this guy Santiago, which is crazy that he's headlining, and it sucks that maybe I do a little more research on Santiago. But
he's a beast.
No. Is he from Chile?
I'm not sure. I don't think so. That last name to me sounds like he's Brazilian. I could be wrong, but the point is that they both are going to headline the card. Everybody's been dodging to fight Usman. Everybody's like, I don't want to fight this guy. I don't want to fight this guy. Finally, he gets a fight. Santiago decides to step up. Very interesting fight. Kamaru has to come out and finish this fight. Everybody spoke so highly about this guy and hasn't been performing as of late to what they consider to be his potential.
Dude, they're giving him the main,
and with that being said, they give him the main event. It's very interesting.
I love Usman. I think he's great and he's a banger and he deserves to be. But right now, not. He's not. It's not like he.
Not at this point. But he is headlining. I guess we'll talk about that a little further into details once it comes to fruition or when the fight is going to happen. But that's going to be a very interesting fight. Like we were saying, Kamaru Usman has to win this fight and has to do it in good fashions to headline the next card. Because if not, you're dropping yourself down really low.
Yeah.
That's pretty much it, man. We try to sum up as much as UFC news as we could, because there's no fights coming up next week. The next one is the one that we're going to, April 7th,
UFC 222.
222. Looking forward to that.
Who's headlining? Khabib is headlining versus Tony Ferguson. Dude, they're calling it the best card of the year.
Yeah,
we're gonna be there, man.
It's gonna be fucking insane. We're gonna be recording everything that we do there,
or as much as possible. I'm trying to enjoy some fights, but yeah, we're gonna do that. But next week, before the fights, we will be doing a prediction episode.
That's correct.
And then obviously, right after the fight, we'll be taking shots for everyone, the results.
We're definitely gonna do that. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram, the Will and Rock MMA Podcast, on Twitter, the Will and Rock MMA Podcast, on YouTube, the Will and Rock MMA Podcast. Subscribe, like, dislike, have any comments, feel free to write anything. We're open-minded. So.
Thanks a lot for the support, guys. We appreciate that.
Thank you.
Peace.